Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
All right, good evening, everybody, and once again, welcome to Season 12 of Golf Talk Live. I'm super excited tonight to have what I believe is a stellar lineup this week on the show, including my good friend and fellow professional John Decker is going to be joining me here in a moment on Coach's Corner. And then we're going to dip into the travel segment a little bit for some travel insights from my good friend, travel expert and co-host Robert Kaufman, and tonight's special travel guest, Carol Chaplin. They'll be joining us here in a little bit. And then later in the broadcast, I'm going to be joined by Ryan Leahey as a PGA professional, as well as the sales coordinator for North America at Duca del Cosma, which is a great European company that designs incredible luxury golf shoes and other things. He's going to be joining me a little bit later on in the broadcast. You want to make sure you tune in for that. All right, let me introduce my good friend John, and then we'll get into tonight's panel discussion. So as I mentioned, joining me on tonight's Coach's Corner panel is John Decker. He's currently the Director of Instruction at the Medallion Club in Ohio. In 2015, he was the Southern Ohio Teacher of the Year. He's also Senior Editor and Top 25 Instructor with Golf Tips Magazine, and he authored the book, Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game. He's also available upon request as a public speaker. So at the end of the show, or of this segment rather, he'll give you all the details on how you can reach out if you're interested in that as well. So please welcome my good friend and tonight's special panelist guest, John Decker. John, welcome to the show.
Ted, thank you for having me on tonight's show. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, good stuff. So we've been doing this for, a few years now. John Hughes, who I know you know has been on the show many times as well, and we were talking about this, and we did the Coach's Corner panel in Season 2 of Golf Talk Live, so this is my 12th season. So Season 2, we began that, and I believe in Season 3, I'll have to go back and check, but I believe Season 3, you came on board somewhere in around that time. Might even been Season 4, I'm not sure. But, John, you've been doing this panel discussion for a long time.
Yes, I every time I look in the mirror, I realize that I am getting older. So, time is flying by, Ted.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time. But, it's always fun. It's a good time, and always appreciate having all you guys on, and makes it fun and interesting. So, one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight is really some advanced techniques and things for as an instructor and coaching, some things that, that we might consider and obviously our students should be considering. And one of the things that I want to get you to sort of talk a little bit about, and there's different areas, of course, that we're going to get into. So hopefully we'll try to keep it narrowed down to specific topics, but obviously I know sometimes it helps to expand a little bit, and that's okay. So the first one we're going to talk about is really teaching club selection, and sort of there's a strategy behind it. Club selection is not solely about distance. It also involves strategy and understanding a golfer's strengths, and obviously factoring in the course conditions. So instructors, one of our jobs besides teaching them how to swing properly and make good contact with the ball is to teach the students to consider a number of factors before they select whatever club may come their way and for that particular shot. So give us some thoughts. Give us maybe an example or two of where that's going to apply in your teaching with your students. What are your thoughts here?
Well, this is, one of my favorite parts of the game to teach, and that's course management, really is what you're talking about. Obviously, we teach students to hit the ball, and once they learn how to hit the ball, that's great, but just because you can hit the ball far or hit the ball straight doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily do well on the golf course, because if you're choosing the wrong club, if you're not adjusting to the lies that you get, and you cannot replicate the lies that you're going to get on the driving range that you're going to get on the golf course. There's just no way to do that. So when you get out on the golf course, I always use the equation of, it's like you're playing a hand of poker. You kind of have to play the hand that you're dealt with. Sometimes you're dealt really good hands and you have an opportunity to win, and sometimes you have to know when to fold and kind of take your medicine a little bit and go that route. So the first thing that I look at is the lie itself. Am I in the fairway or am I in the rough? Am I on a uphill, downhill, side hill lie? Those are things that I take in immediately, and that's going to affect my ball flight. If I'm on a downhill lie and I have to go over water, I'm going to have to maybe consider laying up or playing out to a bailout area, or possibly hitting the ball past the hole and hitting it past the green, to make sure and cover the water. I'm going to want to go with more loft in a situation like that. If I'm on an uphill lie, then that's totally different. I'm going to be choosing clubs that have less loft. But the main thing that I try to emphasize to students when they're on the golf course is that they need to know their carry distance. If you don't know how far you're carrying the ball, then you're going to be in trouble, especially if you're playing a golf course that has a lot of forced carries on it. So knowing, just because your ball goes 150 yards doesn't mean it flies 150 yards. I see students all the time who will hit their ball, 130 yards in the air. Their ball will roll 20 yards and go to the 150 marker, and then they'll say, oh, I hit that hybrid, or hit that 5-iron or 6-iron or whatever the club is. I hit it 150 yards, and I say, well, you really don't. You're carrying it, or it's ending up 150 yards, but you're not carrying it 150. So in situations where they have to go over water and they're 150 yards away, they can't use that club. So that's course management. And so learning how far your ball carries, that's one of the things. I think that's the number one benefit of launch monitors and simulators, is that it will give you your carry distance, and it's usually pretty accurate. And so and remember, those are under ideal situations, no wind or anything like that. But knowing how far you carry the ball, I think, is very critical in course management.
You raise a really good point, and I'm going to expand on that a little bit. You kind of just touched on it a moment ago, but first I want to make this quick comment. You're exactly right. This is where taking the students out on the course for a playing lesson becomes very valuable. It's fine to work on things on the range and in a more controlled environment, but now you take them out on the golf course and they're dealing with slope, they're dealing with uneven lies, things like that. So other factors come into play, water hazards, as you mentioned, maybe bunkers that are strategically positioned that they have to consider. So there's a lot of things there. And one of the things, I've interviewed a number of players, both PGA and LPGA over the years, and one of the things that they often bring up is in their pro-ams, is they will see their playing partners, usually, or maybe a corporate, partners and things like that are playing. And one of the biggest complaints, or not really complaints, but things that they notice, is the lack of proper club selection. More so than anything else. They expect that, they're not going to hit sometimes some great shots, sometimes they will, but a lot of it is they underclub. More often than maybe need to hit that 5-iron, they're playing a 7-iron, because, again, for the same reasons that you pointed out. And I want to expand this a little bit, because you mentioned about, weather conditions, whether it's wind, maybe rain or things like that. Those are things that also need to come into play, because environmental reasons are going to affect club selection as well, not just the lay of the land, but what elements you might be faced with. Maybe just touch on a little bit about that.
Well, that's an excellent point, Ted, that you just brought up, because when you're on the driving range, what I try to do, if you look at a tour player, I mean, when they look at their yardage book, they have a compass basically on their yardage book for every hole. That's not an actual compass, but it's basically will show them where north is and north, south, east, and west. And so what the tour players try to do is they try to figure out the prevailing winds. And obviously, during the summer months, when you're playing golf in the summer months, you're going to probably have winds that are coming out of the south and out of the west, especially here in Ohio. Different parts of the country, different situations, but that's typically, the winds. You're not going to get a lot of northern winds in the summer months. And so knowing where north, south, east, and west is gives you an idea of which way the wind is blowing. The wind is one of the first things I look at. The temperature, like right now, it's really hot here in Ohio. It was 95 degrees today. So that's the ball is going to, when it's warm like this, you're going to get some carry. But if you have a lot of humidity, the ball maybe doesn't carry as far. What's ideal is when you get like a 80-degree day with low humidity, 80 to 85 degrees. That's like a perfect right conditions for distance, because there's no humidity in the air. The ball is going to fly farther. It's warm. The ball is going to do really well. On the other hand, if you're playing in the fall or the spring, or you're playing up north and it's maybe in Canada or somewhere like that, and it's 55 degrees and you're playing, the ball's not going to go as far. I don't care who you are. You're not going to hit the ball as far. So what you have to do is you have to take more club. And so underclubbing is the number one mistake that we see out on the golf course. People try to hit their shots at their career best 9-iron that they maybe hit 140 yards on the driving range one day, but if you look at their average 9-iron, it may be really only goes 125 yards or 130 yards. So underclubbing and weather have a lot to do with the mistakes that you see when it comes to course management. And most people come up short of the green. That's the most prevalent miss that we see. In fact, the average golfer, that's where, if you were to look at it statistically, that's where they're going to miss it, is going to be short of the green.
And that brings up one last point that I think is important to make, and that is you need to understand and know your stats. Most amateurs have no idea how far they're hitting their clubs from one club to another. They don't know the difference from one club to another. So they might, as you said, maybe hitting your 9-iron might be only 130 yards. Well, how far are you hitting your 8-iron? And that's, again, your carry distance, not carry and roll. So, understanding that adds into the equation as well. And remember, we're talking about advanced techniques here. This is not really, obviously that particular topic that we just covered is really applicable to everybody. But this next one that we're going to get into is really for more advanced players. And we're going to go into the assumption that the players that we're going to be talking about now are ones that are hitting more consistent ball strikes. So they can do things like teaching them some specialty shots. For instance, maybe the flop shot, punch shot might be another one, a draw or fade. These are sort of considered to be valuable tools in a golfer's arsenal. But again, from an instructor standpoint, they should be teaching the technical adjustments needed for these types of shots. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that, because this can be a game changer. There's a lot of things, and there's another component to this we're going to get into, and hopefully you won't get into it too much, but before we bring it up, and you'll understand when I do bring it. I think it's good to have a variety of shots. And the reason why I say this, a lot of people may not know this, but Tiger's a perfect example. Tiger, for every time he stepped up on a shot, he had 9 different options, if not more, that he could play. Be high, low, left, right, whatever the case is. He had 9 different shots for every shot that he had, or options, I guess, would be a better way to put it. And that's important. That gives him a huge advantage, and that's why he dominated for so many years. But talk about specialty shots. How can we, what do we need to do here, and do we have to be careful that we don't try to teach too much?
Well, there's so many specialty shots that I really emphasize with my students. Number one, let's start with the short game. I want all of my students, and it really doesn't matter. You can be an advanced player or even I wouldn't say a beginner, but let's say you're a mid-handicap player. In the short game, I want you to know in any situation I put you in how to hit a low shot, how to hit a medium shot, and how to hit a high shot. And that simply can be how you set up with your weight distribution. And I'm not talking about, okay, I'm going to hit a low shot, I'm going to use an 8-iron, I'm going to hit a high shot, I'm going to go to a lob wedge. I'm talking about taking a sand wedge or a lob wedge or a gap wedge, whatever club you choose, and being able to set your weight more to the left to hit it lower, set your weight more 50-50 to hit a medium shot, and to set the weight back a little bit to hit a higher shot. That would be more with your sand wedge or your lob wedge. So that's one of the things that I do with all of my students is go over the low, medium, and high shot. When I get with advanced players working on hitting a fade or hitting a draw, the first, it all starts with the target line. You have to have a target line, so you want to put an alignment stick down and put that at your target. Obviously, if I've had a stock shot where I'm hitting just a normal shot, I'm going to play the ball inside of my left heel. But if I want to curve the ball, if I want to fade the ball or draw the ball, I will move the ball back one ball in my stance. And then if I want to fade the ball, I will tend to open my stance in relationship to the target line. So for a right-handed player, that would be aim my body more left of the target. And if I'm going to hit a draw, I tend to go ahead and have them close their stance slightly to the target line and, again, move the ball back one ball. The reason you're moving that ball back one ball is that's going to help you to have it catch it more from the inside when you're hitting the draw, and from the fade, it's going to keep the face from closing down on you. Because if you play the ball forward and you try to hit a fade, the face can close down on you, and then you hit a pull. And so that's a mistake that a lot of people, struggle with. The other thing that I always work on, and this is something I work on, I play in about 8 to 10 tournaments a year, and the day before the tournament, I always work on trouble shots. So what I mean by trouble shots is I'll take a 7-iron, 8-iron, 9-iron, put my feet close together, lean left, and hit a little punch shot down the driving range, maybe hit it about, 10 feet off the ground and try to punch it down the fairway or down the driving range. Yeah, because I know I may get under a tree or I may need to lay up on a hole. And so that's what I do when I kind of lay up. So I work on shots like that. I hit shots like big fades and big draws. Now, I do exactly what I talked about, opening and closing my stance, moving the ball back. But now I do it excessively. So I'll excessively close my stance, and I'll practice hitting a big hook in case I have to go around a tree, or I'll open my stance and practice hitting a big fade or slice if I have to go around a tree the other way. Not every shot you're going to get in a tournament is going to be a stock shot where you're making a full backswing and a full follow-through. And then if I know it's going to be windy, or if I'm playing a golf course where it's windy, I'll hit a lot of three-quarter punch shots, trying to flight my ball lower so that I can keep it out of the wind. These are the things that I do before I prepare, as I prepare for a tournament, and I do these without thinking about my golf swing. I'm focusing on a trajectory, I'm focusing on a ball flight, and I'm focusing on a result of that ball flight so that I can take that to the tournament. If I can't do it, I don't do it in the tournament. So if you say, I can't hit that flop shot, don't do it in the tournament. Go with another shot to get you through until you can learn how to do it. And the more you practice it, the more you learn how to do it, the more it's going to show up, in the tournaments. And so one of my students today, I have 2 students that I work with every week, and they're high school players, and they're really good players. One of them is tried to qualify for the U.S. Open just recently as a 16-year-old and did very well. He shot 77, which I was very proud of him for that. And the other one is not playing as long, and so he's making a few more mistakes out on the course. And he was under a tree, and he said, I was under a tree, and I tried to hit my 5-iron under the tree and punch it out, and I messed up. And I said, the mistake was not that you tried to punch it out. The mistake was that you used a 5-iron. If you're going to punch it out under the tree, go with more loft. Go with like a 7-iron, 8-iron, or 9-iron, depending on how far you're trying to hit it. And then get your feet close together and lean left and turn that 7-iron into a 5-iron. I said, when you take a 5-iron and you lean left, now it's like a 1-iron. So you have no loft. And so he said, well, I had to hit it really low. And I said, here's how you do it. And I showed him how to do it. So that is a learning experience for him that hopefully, and we all get these situations. No one's going to go around the golf course and not have these situations. It's a learning experience for him. And it turned out to be a very, valuable learning experience, and he got it after that. So that was an experience where he failed at it, and he brought me the problem. We talked about the problem, and then I showed him, how to do it the correct way. And I had shown him that beforehand, but he was a teenager and he wanted to hit the 5-iron, and now he's learning that the 5-iron wasn't the right club. And so that was I thought a very positive way to work on in the lesson in a way that he can now take out to the golf course.
It's what they call a teachable moment with your students, and you're exactly right, John. And again, I think when you're younger like that, you tend to you're not relying on experience the same way. It's more, adrenaline. You're more aggressive in your play. As you become a more seasoned golfer, you learn to protect and play. Not that you don't go for things still, but you're more, you'll play even a little bit defensive golf depending on the circumstance. If you're trying to protect the lead or something, you're not going to be as overtly aggressive. And, again, it's a great opportunity to take a situation like that. And, even though that was laid out ahead of time, again, sometimes through lack of experience and repetition, they will tend to default back to a different scenario or a different selection or what have you. So that's a great opportunity and a great story to share. And I think, as I said, you touched on shot shaping and things like that. It's so important to have that because what it does is, and the more proficient you've become, whether you're hitting it left to right, right to left, low, high, what have you, it helps build confidence out in the golf course. So when you get out there and you're faced with that shot, you're going to have all of the information you're gathering while you're out there to make that informed decision. And when you do, you've got a shot in the bag that you can rely on that's going to help you, get to the finish line, so to speak. So some great points that you brought there, and it's so important for students to really stop and think. And it all falls under course management. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to move on and talk a little bit about other aspects of course management, and that is teaching course management for better scoring overall. So effective course management obviously is essential for scoring well in golf, and they need to really emphasize to their golfers to analyze each hole in order to make decisions to play to their strengths while minimizing risks. So talk about some of the mental strategies for scoring as well. What are some of the things that we're going to do? I know you touched on a few, but what are some of the things that you're going to do here? Because this is so important. You get out there and you're in the heat of the moment. You're, excited. Your adrenaline's going. You're in a tournament, what have you. And a lot of times your brain just sort of shuts off a little bit and you get confused. What are some good tips that we can give them to really focus and bear down on their management skills to help them score better?
Well, the first thing is you need to have a plan when you're playing on the golf course. You need to have a plan for every hole. Now, it's a lot easier to have a plan on your home course because you play it every day. But when you go to different golf courses, especially if you're seeing them for the first time, the first thing that you need to do is look at the hole, whether it's looking on the GPS screen of the cart or whether you're looking at the scorecard or you're looking at the sign that, by the tee box. You're looking at where's the trouble. If the trouble is right, then my plan is to tee up on the right-hand side of the tee box because I want to get my body aligned away from that trouble. If the trouble is on the left, then I tee up on the left-hand side of the tee box, and I hit away from the trouble on the left. If there's trouble on both sides of the tee box, then I need to know my ball flight. Okay? Sometimes, if there's out of bounds on the right, and, we have some holes that here in Ohio, we have out of bounds on the right, and you have red penalty areas on the left. Well, I would rather go in the red penalty area than go out of bounds. At least I have some options. At least I can go up and take a drop. I can't do that without a bounds. So if the penalty, if the red or the out of bounds is on the right, I'm going to tee up on the right-hand side. Knowing your ball flight, if you tend to draw the ball from right to left, then you're going to tee up on the left-hand side of the tee box. If you tend to fade the ball or slice the ball to the right, you want to tee up on the right-hand side of the tee box. I get some students, and when I go out and do playing lessons, and they come to me and they already have a slice built in, I said, for the rest of this round, every time, I don't care where the hole is, you tee up on the right-hand side of the tee box. That gives you the most room to play your shot. And then after the round, we're going to set up some lessons, and we're going to try to get you rid of that, slice. But you got to play with what you got when you're out there. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is when you're out there on the golf course, a great way to learn where the architect gives you, and the architect will give you room to hit the ball. They will give you an area. And it may not be 300 yards down the middle. It may be at 220, or it may be at 210, or wherever. They give you a wide part of the fairway to land the ball. That's where you want your ball landing. And a great way to see this is when you get on the green, turn around and look back at the hole. It's a totally different perspective. You can't see the bunkers as well. You can really see the wide areas, and so then you say, that's where I want to land the ball. And so the more times you play a hole or a golf course, if you'll take time when you're on the green, maybe you're done putting, you're waiting on someone to finish putting or whatever, just look backwards, and you'll start seeing those wide areas. So the next time you play it, you can say, you know what, instead of hitting the driver, I'm going to hit the hybrid or the 3-wood, because if I lay it back a little bit, I've got twice as much room to land the ball. So those are little tips that will help you as well. Obviously, I think one of the things that will help you is if you're going to a golf course for the first time and you have, a caddy, or if you have, asking, playing with local people, a lot of times I will ask, are there any hidden things out there? Are there any, like if I go over a hill, is there trouble on the other side? Any little advice that they can give me, will help. Sometimes I played a golf course at Springfield Country Club, and the pro told me, he said, everything breaks. If there's a big flagpole out there, he said the way the property is designed, everything goes from that flagpole to the driving range, and the driving range was way away. You had to get in the car and drive a long way to get there, but you could see it from the top of the hill, and you could see that everything kind of sloped that way. So every time I'm on the green, I'm looking for that flagpole. I'm thinking about where the driving range is, to know that everything's going to kind of go that way. You get that out in desert golf. I've heard a lot of stories about that as well. So things like that, knowing the little tidbits about every golf course. Every golf course has its own unique styles. Is very, very important as well in having a plan before you go play.
Yeah, any advantage you can give yourself, play. I'll give you a perfect example in my own case. A couple of years ago, I visited Pinehurst, and of course, we just had the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, and I played the very first round. I played on number 2, which of course was featured this last week. And what I didn't know, not having played that before, I wasn't really familiar with certain aspects. And right from the get-go on the first hole, I had a beautiful drive, positioned it perfect. I couldn't have walked it out there any better. But not really understanding the layout of the hole and understanding the undulations in the green, I saw that the pin was cut right in the middle. So I thought, I'm going to go for it, and I did. And what I didn't factor in was that there's sort of a crown in the middle of the green, and they put the pin right there. Well, I hit right on top, and of course it shot about 10 feet over the green. So not really, getting informed information up front, which, shame on me for not doing that, caused me to turn, and now I'm having to scramble, hopefully to save par, which I did, but it was a tough par. So having that information, the point that you made, really knowing the lay of the land, understanding what adversities you may be faced with out there up front, is going to make life a lot easier. When you watch these guys on television, they make it look so easy. But the difference is they're playing all the time, they're practicing all the time. So a lot of this stuff comes second nature to them. Whereas many of our mid-handicappers or high-handicap golfers that don't have the same luxury of playing as much golf or practicing as much, don't. So you need to give yourself as much ammunition as possible when you're out there and getting ready to play. And that's, again, there's the mental aspect of mental strategies rather for scoring. That plays a huge role. Focusing on your routine, positive visualization, that sort of thing. Those are things that can be taught and help golfers to sort of gain some perspective. And I'm sure you're familiar with this. Nicholas talked about the importance of visualizing his shots. Every shot he got up, he visualized how that shot was going to look before he even hit it. So maybe you can just talk briefly about that.
I think that's a great point because I'm going to talk about Nicholas and I'm going to talk about Tiger Woods. Nicholas said that he would visualize his shot in his mind. He could see the shot. I heard a story. I heard an interview, not a story, but I heard the actual interview with Tiger Woods when he said he was about 14 or 15. His father took him to a guy who was like a Green Beret, a military guy, and he was a psychologist, and he would train these Green Berets, I believe it was, to mentally how to handle being in the military and dealing with possibly being captured, and how you mentally, your mental toughness is basically what he trained him to do. And so he talked to Tiger, and he said, all right, they went out on the course, and he goes, I want you to visualize this shot. And he goes, I really can't do that. And he said, what do you mean? And he goes, I don't really see it. He goes, I have to feel it. And so if you notice when Tiger's, before he hits his shots, he makes a lot of little practice swings. He goes, and then the sports psychologist who said, then go with that. Because some people are visual learners and some people feel shots. And so if you're a field player, then go with what you're given. I do better by feeling the shot. I have a tough time. I can see what I want the ball to do, but I don't see it. He goes, I don't see it like going in the air and turning. He goes, I just have to feel it. And so I thought that was really interesting when I heard that interview. So I think you have to know how you are, as a player. Just remember that when you're seeing a shot, when you're behind the ball, and every tour player starts from behind the ball. They pick out a target. In every shot, you should have a target. And it drives me crazy when I'm doing lessons and I ask my student, what's your target? And he goes, I'm just going down the middle of the range. That's not a target because your brain doesn't understand that. That would be like me trying to give directions to someone if they ask me, well, how do I get to a certain street? And it might be 9 blocks away, and I just point and I say, just go that way. You'll find it. No, that's not how you give someone directions. I would give you specific directions how to get to your location. Well, that's how your brain works. So when you're playing golf and you're standing behind the ball, you have to have a specific target. And just remember that your ball is not going to fly directly straight. No one hits a perfectly straight ball every time. So if you have a fade or a draw naturally to your swing, then you have to basically allow for that to get the ball to your target. So these are things that you want to be doing when you're practicing, and then obviously taking to the golf course, and then having a routine is going to be important so that you're doing it the same way every time. I always say your computer won't let you log in a different way every time. Your computer makes you log in the same way every time. Well, that's the way I want you to play golf. I want you to play like you're logging into your computer. You do it the exact same way every time for every shot, and that will make you more consistent so that when you get under pressure and you get nervous, then you have something to fall back on. If you do it one way one time and another way another time, when you get under pressure, you're going to be saying to yourself, now, do I do it this way or do it this way? You're adding another element, and that's going to make you more nervous, and you're not going to play as well. So the pre-shot routine is like Linus and his blanket. You're holding on to that blanket, and you're going to do it every time the same way, and that will make you more consistent. And to be a consistent golfer, you have to have a consistent pre-shot routine. I've never played with a great player who doesn't have that routine, and it's really what sets, I think, the elite golfer up. That's the difference in a lot of times between the elite player and the average player.
Yeah, and that's again some great points you bring up with Tiger. I heard that story as well. when he was growing up that he had done that. And I couldn't remember if it was Green Beret or Navy SEAL or something along that lines. But yeah, his dad had introduced him to, that opportunity, and obviously it worked well for him. And you're right. You have different types of players. I think the other thing too that a lot of people don't realize, and they always assume that when it comes to the pre-shot routine, when you see a player going through the routine and all of a sudden they stop and then they repeat it, it's not always necessarily because of a distraction in the crowds. I mean, obviously sometimes that can be, it throws them off because they're usually fairly focused. Sometimes what it is they're going through the routine and they themselves have either sped up the routine or it's slower than what they normally do. So they've actually gotten out of their routine. It looks similar to the naked eye. You and I might not notice it, but to them, maybe it's a 20 count, maybe it's, 3 steps this way or whatever. So if the routine gets skewed in any way, that is enough for them to say, you know what, I'm not going to be comfortable over this shot because my routine is not going the way I normally do it. So I'm going to repeat it. And that's why you'll see sometimes players do that. It's not always because of crowd noise or other distractions. That certainly is a factor as well. So to really expand on your point, that is why it's so important to build and develop a good pre-shot routine and one that you do consistently, because that will help you stay focused and prepared for when you hit that shot. Let's get into a little bit advanced putting techniques that can be applied as well. And I think the first and foremost, and this is one that a lot of people think they understand, they really don't, and that is we need to teach them how to read greens. If you don't understand reading greens, you can do all of the other stuff that is related with putting, but if you don't understand how to read the green, and there's obviously a number of ways that can be done. It's up to, individual how they choose to do it. There's obviously some sort of tried and true methods, but there's a lot of flexibility for that from instructor to instructor. But learning to read the greens, and then also the second component to that is teaching them how to distance control their putting stroke. So touch on the green reading first, and then talk about distance control, how we can work on some of that, and maybe even throw a drill or two in there.
Well, the best way to read a green is to walk up to the hole when your ball is on the green. So when you walk up to the hole, you can feel the terrain. You can feel whether you're going uphill, whether you're going downhill. You see a lot of the guys now on tour stand and kind of straddle their line that they're putting on and kind of go back and forth. They're using their feet to feel the slope. Your eyes will lie to you. There are times I swear a putt's going to break one way, and then it goes the other way. And then when I walk down to the hole and I look at it, I'm like, you know what? Now I can see it. I couldn't see it from where I was. And the architects, they do this on purpose. They make these things. They don't make things easy on you when you're out there especially a lot of the modern golf courses that are built. So walking up to the hole, I start reading a green well before I get to the green. I'm reading the green as soon as my ball is on the green. You look at the tour players; they're pulling their note card, their yardage books out, and they've got notes. They know, it breaks to the right or to the left, because you don't know where your ball is going to be when you go play. When I go play in a golf course, I don't know whether on the first hole I'm going to have an uphill putt or a downhill putt. But as soon as my ball is on the green, I'm figuring it out. Before I ever get there, I'm already thinking to myself, that's going to be downhill or that's going to be uphill. I can be more aggressive. And so as I approach the green, a lot of people are riding in golf carts. Just take, especially if you're playing the course for the first time, you're 100 yards, 150 yards away. You have a very good perspective of what the green is going to do overall. Then as you get onto the green, it gets more specific. Okay, it's going to break to the right. I can see that putt's going to break to the right. But then when I get on the green, is it going to break to the right 6 inches or is it going to break to the right a foot? Those are things that you figure out, once you get there. Obviously, watching other people putt is a great advantage. So you always want to watch other people's balls because that will tell you a lot. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That is legal. you cannot stand behind. You should not stand directly behind someone and do it. But as soon as they putt, if you need to walk over and kind of get behind them, that's okay as well. But I think that would be the things that I look for. Also, there's greens are built to drain. The architects build these to drain. So the first thing they do is they have a high point. Every green that's ever built has a high point, the highest point on the green, and every green has a low point. And they do that to get the water off of the green so the water won't stand on the green and create puddles. So they want to move the water. So I'm always trying to find the high point of the green. I'm always trying to find the low point. That's called the linear plane. Then the second thing I look for is I look for crowns. Like you mentioned playing at Pinehurst, there's a lot of crowns on those greens. Donald Ross is famous for the turtleback crown greens. So you found out right away that when the pin is on the crown, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. So that's where we look for the crowns. Saddles are the low areas. So remember, you can't have a high area without a low area. You can't have a low area without a high area. So you have both. And so when the pins are in the saddles, the low areas, you can be more aggressive. I would much like a perfect saddle is to think about is number 16 at Augusta on Sunday. They put that pin in the back left. That's in a saddle. That's why there's so many hole-in-ones. There's so many birdies that on the last day on that hole because they've got the pin in the low area. When they put the pin on Friday or Saturday, they always put it up on the crown. That's when it's its most difficult pin placement. That's when the guys will hit they're back there with a 7-iron or an 8-iron. Some guys maybe 6 irons, whatever. They're hitting that in there, and the ball's landing on the green, and then it's running. They hit it 20 feet from the hole, and it runs all the way down the bottom of the hill. They've got a 50-footer. So that is where pins placements are at their most difficult when they're on the crown. So whenever they're on the crowns, you can't be as aggressive. You got to be smart. Whenever they're in the saddles, you can be much more aggressive. You can take a much more direct line, and you've got some forgiveness. You can hit a little bit long, it'll come back. You hit a little bit right, it may roll left. You hit a little left, it may roll right. So the saddles are definitely much easier. Now, the main thing about green speed, the most important thing when you get on the putting green before you go play is to get a feel for the speed of the greens. Don't make the mistake of grabbing 3 balls and walking up and putting 3-footers. That's not where you start. Because the odds are when you get on the first hole, you're not going to start out with a 3-footer. You're going to probably start out with a 20, 30, 40-footer. Work on the lag putts first. Work on the long putts first. That's the first thing I do when I get to a golf course is I go to the putting green, I put 3 balls on the green, and I putt long putts until I get the speed. Then I go chip, and then I go pitch, and then I go work my way up to my full swing, and then I come back to the putting green, and I work on short putts. I don't waste my time hitting 15-foot putts. I'm not statistically going to make 15-foot putts. I've got about a 10% chance of making a 15-footer. So why do I want to waste my time trying to hit 15-footers? I want to be good at lag putting because if I can lag it up there inside of 3 feet, the odds are I'm now going to 2-putt. And then I work on a lot of 3 and 4 and 5-footers because I'm not going to hit every green in regulation. So if I've got a good short game and I can chip it up there 3, 4, 5 feet from the hole, I'm going to have a lot of those putts as well. So work on the long putts and work on the short putts. Don't worry about the 10 to 20-footers. Those you're not going to make those anyway statistically. Those are, as far as I'm concerned, a 15-foot putt is still a lag putt. You're lagging it. You're not necessarily going to make it. You want the speed to be so that it falls in on its last roll. That's kind of what you're aiming at. So speed is very important. And my favorite drill for that, just putt to the fringe. You don't need to putt to the hole. Get yourself out 40 feet from the fringe and putt to the fringe. That's a great way to get a feel for the speed.
Yeah, well said, and great way to wrap up the Coach's Corner segment. It all really boils down to, as you said in the beginning, course management, understanding what needs to be done and when and why. And when you are able to answer those questions consistently and able to, ascertain the information that you gather when you're out there on the golf course, that's why it's so important to not just go out there and beat balls on the driving range, but get out there. If you're working with a teaching pro or a coach, get out there, make sure that they're getting you out, and most of them certainly are doing that now, getting you out in playing lessons, in real life situations on course, and doing different scenarios that you may be faced with, because you're not going to always have that perfect lie or perfect circumstances out there. So you need to experiment a little bit, and you can certainly do that on the range if you are a little bit creative. There's nothing wrong if you don't have opportunity always to get out there on the golf course, so you make the best of it with whatever your circumstances. But very, very important to do that. John, great discussion tonight. Thank you for shedding a lot of light, I think, on areas that a lot of folks definitely struggle with. As always, I'll give you a moment or two to let the folks know if they want to reach out to you, and if there's quickly anything, if you want to plug, by all means, go ahead and do that.
Well, Ted, thanks again for the opportunity to be on this show, and I really appreciate this. And I know every guest you have appreciates the opportunity to be on. So thank you. For the listeners out there, the best way to reach me is you can go on my website. It's deckergolf.com. My website's actually getting updated. I'm working with a new marketing company that's going to help me with that. You can reach me on social media as well. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn. If you just go under and pull up my name, John Decker, and I spell my first name Jon, John Decker, you can find me there. And I've got on the website, I've got about 200 videos, so I've got a lot of instructional videos as well. I am a Christian author. My first book, Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart. If you go on any of those sites, you can find it. The book is also available in audio form, so Amazon Audible. You can listen to the book as well. And I have my second book, Fairways to Heaven, One Shot at a Time, which is really a culmination of all of the Fairways to Heaven articles that I've written for Golf Tips Magazine as a senior editor. And Ted, I really appreciate the opportunity that you've given me for that platform. But I've taken all those articles plus a bunch of new articles and a tribute to Phil Rogers, and that book is going to be out later on this summer, and I can't wait to announce when I get an official date on that. And if you're looking for a speaker, public speaker, whether it's at your church, fundraisers, golf course, feel free to reach out to me again on the website, and I'd be glad to come to your community and do a clinic and talk about the books and do whatever it is you're looking for. So thank you again, Ted, and hopefully you have a great summer, and hopefully you have a great vacation. I know you got one coming up in July, so enjoy your vacation as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you as always, John. Appreciate it, and I believe you'll be on again at some point in July, so I look forward to having you return. But thanks. Have a great weekend, and in case we don't talk before, happy 4th of July. I know it's a few weeks away, but I may not get a chance to talk to you before, but have a good holiday. But thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, John Decker joining me on the Coach's Corner panel. We're going to take a quick break, and then I will be joined by my good friend, co-host and travel expert, Robert Kaufman, and our special travel guest tonight, Carol Chaplin. We'll be right back.
When it comes to golf, there are two topics that consistently come up: more distance and more energy. But hey, what if you could achieve both? Introducing Victory's carbon fiber insoles, the revolutionary performance insoles designed specifically to help golfers hit longer. Using patented carbon fiber technology, VKs do more than support your feet. Many golfers see a 1 to 2 mile per hour increase in club head speed just by adding Victory insoles to their shoes. So if you want to up your game and feel better after a long day on the course, choose Victory's carbon fiber insoles. Visit Victory.com, that's VKTRY.com, and use code GT20 for 20% off today. This offer is exclusive for listeners of this podcast. Again, visit Victory.com and use code GT20 for 20% off. Order today to start feeling the difference on your next round.
This golf travel segment is sponsored by Golf Breaks by PGA Tour. If you are tired of researching and planning your group's golf trips, let the travel experts at Golf Breaks by PGA Tour help. Get a customized golf trip with their hassle-free service and save money with their guaranteed best prices. Right now, Golf Breaks by PGA Tour is offering up to $200 off your next golf trip, exclusive to Golf Talk Live listeners. Simply quote Golf Tips 200 online or over the phone. Terms apply. Go to golfbreaks.com to start planning your next golf trip today.
All right, once again, welcome to our travel segment here on Golf Talk Live. I'm very excited always to feature this segment. It's always very interesting. I get to learn a little bit about some interesting places to go and visit, and obviously play some golf and do some other things as well. So I'm going to introduce my co-host and friend and our special travel featured guest tonight as well. As I mentioned, Robert Kaufman is a co-host and travel expert, and he's literally traveled throughout the world in addition to all 50 states. He's played golf in over 26 countries, and following a 12-year career as a freelance photojournalist, he founded Northern California's first monthly golf publication, Golf Today. He is currently serves as a travel editor for Golf Tips magazine, along with contributing to many other publications, which can be viewed on his website at Picture. And our special travel featured guest tonight is Carol Chaplin. She is the president and CEO of Lake Tahoe Visitors and Tahoe Douglas Visitors Authorities. She has been doing that for the past 16 years. She also has oversight of the Tahoe Blue Event Center's management. She currently the board chair for the Reno Tahoe, as I said, Airport Authority, and serves on several other regional boards, including the Destination Stewardship Council and the South Shore Transportation Management Association. So please welcome co-host Robert Kaufman and our special travel guest, Carol Chaplin.
Hey,
good evening to you both. Hey, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
Hi there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Carol, for joining us tonight. I appreciate you coming on and spending a few minutes with my audience. And obviously, Robert, I'm going to turn things over to you, but and then I will follow up a little bit later on in this segment. But I'm going to turn the mic over to you, and I'm going to mute mine while you and Carol talk a little bit about what she does and some of the different things that she can point us in the right direction to experience. So, Robert, go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, Ted. Carol, hey, great to have you on. Talk about South Lake Tahoe, one of the premier four-season destinations in the country for outdoor adventure, activities, and whatever else you want to do. And, you know, with you being leading the charge up there on promoting the destination and being an avid skier, cyclist, no doubt the Lake Tahoe world is your oyster.
Absolutely. Thank you. It definitely is a place where I only gave you, some information on how long I've been at the Visitors Authority, but I wouldn't want you to be doing the math on how long I've actually lived here, because that would be rather telling. But I am still, really active along with, a real vibrant community, and of course we have lots to offer this summer in terms of outdoor recreation and entertainment. And of course, as you know, American Century Championship comes knocking in a couple of weeks. So a lot going on right now.
Definitely get to that. But just wanted to, do a brief touch on the outdoor adventure. I'm the cycling and skier that you are. I retired my ski legs a long time ago. But as a cyclist, I have to say one of the greatest rides I've ever done was the 72-mile loop around Lake Tahoe, which I imagine you've done more than a few times.
I actually have, and that was just in town a couple of weeks ago. It's also a fundraiser for leukemia, and so it's a big fundraiser for groups that come up here and are supporting that cause. So we have about 3,000 people that enjoy that ride, and it's well supported. There's stops along the way where you can get food and drink, and gather with your friends again, and then head out again in Peloton or just your pack. So yeah, it's a really great event. The weather was perfect for it this year, and we also have mountain biking, which I also take advantage of. So we have some great trails And as far as skiing goes in the wintertime, I'm happy to say that we have a few more months before we get to that, but we have 3 resorts on the South Shore here. We have Heavenly Mountain Resort, and then we have Kirkwood, and also Sierra at Tahoe. So we've had a couple of fabulous years of snow up here, and have set a few records in terms of, the snowfall, just like some other of the resorts around the region. So always something to do outside.
Well, yeah, and in fact, along that line of you had a good year for snow this year. There's probably some areas, I'm not sure if it went that far into the season, where you could ski and play golf on the same day.
We can do that here, yes. As a matter of fact, I believe that was possible this year. And of course, if it's not right here in South Lake Tahoe, because we're at a little higher elevation, as you know, we have some great courses down in the valley and around the lake that may start a little bit earlier than us. Right. But you can do that, and you could ski, golf, and paddleboard. We can continue to challenge you until the sun goes down.
That would be a pretty good triathlon for
yeah,
one day.
There you go.
So on the flip side, getting back to the golf, there's plenty of courses up there. I think you have over 46 courses around the lake.
Yes.
And the great thing about playing up there, obviously, for those who don't know, is the fact that you are at an altitude, 6,000 feet plus, and it does come into play, benefiting the extra distance on the ball flight. But give us a brief overview of some of the options up there where we can go play. Whether it's South Lake Tahoe or the North Shore, West Shore, even in the Reno, and I know you could extend it out to the Truckee and Gray Eagle.
Yeah, so Edgewood Tahoe is our top 100 courses right here in South Shore. Actually, I have views of that course from the event center, which is where my office is located these days. And then we also have Lake Tahoe Golf Course here, but down in Carson Valley we have Genoa Lakes, and there's 2 courses down there with Genoa Lakes and resort courses. And then, as you mentioned, over in Truckee, Old Greenwood hosts the Barracuda Championship. And then in Carson City, we have the Divine Nine. So that really adds to some interest. And they're all so different, as you know. Every one of the courses has its own personalities and its own challenges. And then we have a couple of 9-hole courses real close to South Shore, Old Brockway, and Glenbrook. Then Clear Creek Tahoe is probably one of the newer courses. Really, really a wonderful course. And Incline Village. Then there's the Links at Everline, which some people might have known as Squaw Creek. And then, of course, Martis Camp. And some others that I probably have forgotten right now, but that's a lot. You could spend a whole week. I was listening to your promotion for golf vacations, and you certainly could come here and play a new course every day for a couple of weeks. So come on up and give that a go.
Yeah, but there's too much else to do up there, so you would want to be doing golf every day. Now, you mentioned earlier, real quickly, the Barracuda Championship, which is a PGA Tour event that comes in July. But a week prior to that is probably your crown jewel event at Edgewood, as you mentioned earlier, the American Century Championship at Edgewood. Tell us a little bit about that. It's now in its 35th year. It's unbelievable. I think I was at the
35.
first one. And so, yeah, it's lasted this long, and it's done a lot for the community and the area. So give us a little snippet of what to expect this year.
I'd love to do that. I appreciate the opportunity. we actually start on July 10th this year, right after the July 4th. So you could come up for the fireworks. We have one of the larger displays in the country, actually, usually top 10. But we start on the 10th with some practice rounds and 10th and 11th, and then the tournament is a 3-day tournament starting July 12, which is Friday, July 13 and 14. And as you mentioned, it's the 35th year. So we just love this event in the community. The vibe kind of starts, it started for us in around December. You know, our team puts that on. We're the destination sponsor. We manage 400 volunteers. Our volunteers are so wonderful. They come back every year and spend the week with us. And so a lot of them have been with us for almost that 35-year period. We hosted, or our attendance last year was about 78,000 in that 5-day period. And we are pacing ahead of ticket sales this year. So, you know, and that is driven by some excitement on this particular course and on this particular championship that you don't see in some tournaments. I know that you've been out here to experience some of the interesting, fun antics that some of our celebrities get into around 17 and 18. A lot of people come by boat to watch this tournament, and they get to interact with the celebrities and cheer them on, and basketball hoops, and just all kinds of things. And of course, last year, Stefan was, hit the hole-in-one, and then followed that up with an eagle. So very exciting that last year for that. We've got a lot of comedians. We have all kinds of top tier athletes. We have celebrities of all walks, and they just have a ball. And a lot of them, actually, this is a real family event. So this is a place where you can bring your kids, spend the day, walk around, follow some of your favorites, have some lunch, enjoy some great temperatures. Right now it's about 72, 74 degrees. And some of our celebrities make this, a vacation that they put on the calendar as soon as they get done with this year.
Right. Well, and unfortunately, you won't have your reigning champion this year, Steph Curry.
No, we're going to let him go to the Olympics, and we'll cheer him on in his other favorite sport.
Right. But you do have some pretty well-known newbies coming in, like Alex Rodriguez and Albert Pujols, and I don't know who else do we have coming this year. That's new, hasn't played in.
Well, we do have the Kelsey brothers.
The Kelsey brothers, of course.
Yep, are coming in, and of course, one of our favorites is always Sir Charles. He's well loved in this community, and often is seen around town having dinner with his family, and so we have some new players, and then we have some people that just wouldn't miss it. So lots of fun stuff. You can go on to the website to see the full list of celebrities, AmericanCenturyChampionship.com, or our website, visit LakeTahoe.com.
Okay. Well, no doubt it's always a fun event. It wouldn't have lasted 35 years otherwise. So when it comes to other outdoor activities, let's kind of do a little shift away from golf. There's so much available up there around the lake. You mentioned biking, obviously skiing. What are some of the must-do experiences of someone, people coming up to South Lake Tahoe, or the lake in general?
Yeah, so thanks for that intro to a lot of different things. Of course, you don't have to make it a workout necessarily to have a good time to be outdoors. So the gondola at Heavenly is open, so you can do some sightseeing. Get up to the top there at Heavenly and take a walk or a hike over to Tamarack Lodge, where there's a nice place to have lunch. Of course, we have some great beaches in South Lake Tahoe, so you can just do a little sun and sit on the beach. And we do have high water this year, so the beaches are a little bit tighter. than they have been in the past. But the water is gorgeous right now. And then, of course, speaking of that, of the lake, we have all kinds of water activities, paddle boarding, kayaking, power boats, jet skis, all those kind of things to do.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's lakefront dining opportunities or just lake view opportunities. So, we consider dining, an outdoor activity sometimes. And we also have some great shopping. One of the great places to go shopping is just a little walk from maybe your hotel room, and that would be Heavenly Shops.
Very good.
There's hiking. There's a great urban trailhead just right around the corner, Van Sickle Park. It's a bi-state park, so you can come out at your hotel room, take a short hike over there, and still get some great views of the lake.
Awesome. So I want to take a little time here. You being head of the tourism organization for South Lake Tahoe, your responsibilities span many levels, when it comes to promoting the region and making sure it's an enjoyable place to visit, as well as for those who live there full time. And with over-tourism becoming more of an issue in many destinations, talk to the sustainability efforts, and about this Lake Tahoe destination stewardship plan that you have going on right now.
Yes, I have been involved with this since it's about 20 organizations got together a couple of years ago after the pandemic, and realizing that our environment, like many of the destinations your listeners plan trips to, the environment is pretty fragile, and so when you have so many people enjoying outdoor recreation, it's still on, the trend is still trending up for outdoor recreation. It's a little bit hard on the destination that you've decided to visit. So we are doubling down on trying to help our visitors know how important it is that they play a part in the preservation of those destinations, wherever it might be that you go. And we started the Lake Tahoe Destination Council a few years ago, and through a planning process came up with a strategy and some tenets to follow so that we could help our environment stay pure and pristine for many generations to come. We are a group of nonprofits and private businesses and agencies, and we get together and we now have some action teams that are looking at that peak demand that you were talking about, as far as kind of equal to over tourism. But when those times are, maybe we could convince people or educate them that there are other times of a year or of the week that they could come up here and have a little bit less crowded time and really enjoy some of the well-known or the lesser-known areas of the lake that they could really enjoy. So that's all part of our plan. Of course, we're trying to educate our visitors that we want them to leave less behind, be kind, take care of Tahoe, and enjoy it just as much as we do the folks that live here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, so in recent years, along that line, I'm trying to, while you're still trying to encourage visitors to come up, and obviously visit in the right way, as you spoke about, there's also been a pretty big resurgence in investments around South Lake Tahoe, including hotels, restaurants, and you've got the Tahoe Blue Event Center right across the Edgewood Golf Course. Yeah, so talk briefly about the revitalization that's been going on and what's to come.
Well, we would say that this is, another renaissance. We had one a few years ago, but we have another one occurring, and the Tahoe Blue Event Center is kind of in the middle of that. Last year in September, we opened the Tahoe Blue Event Center, and it is a 5,000-seat arena along with meeting and convention space. So it sits in in the Casino Core area, right next to Harrah's, Harvey's, Golden Nugget, and Bally's. And so you can walk from those properties, and we have all kinds of entertainment going on. We also have an ECHL hockey team called the Tahoe Night Monsters coming in October. So we'll have 36 hockey games starting in October through April of 2025. This event center actually started kind of to nudge that renovation or redevelopment that you were alluding to. We have about at least $500 million worth of renovations going on right now. Harrah's and Harvey's is in the middle of it. Golden Nugget and Bally's will follow. We also have a hotel that was called Lake Tahoe Resort Hotel, is now one of the Margaritavilles. So that's a fun place to go as well. And of course, Edgewood added their in addition to their lodge, they now have their chateaus on the golf course. So they have 3, 4, and 5 bedroom places that you can rent and stay and play golf, or just look out on the beautiful course or over Lake Tahoe.
Right. Well, I know there's so much more we can get into. We can talk for a long time about what's going on around the lake. We have such limited time here. So, lastly, what share again with our listeners what the website is. People can go to.
Our website is Visit Lake Tahoe. Very easy to remember. We have all kinds of information for you: lodging, restaurants. Know before you go, so that we have road conditions. We have, of course, we have what's called our Rules to Lake By, which was some of our sustainability messaging that you were referring to. All kinds of, the event lineup for the year. Certainly find out about American Century Championship. So visit LakeTahoe.com.
Awesome. Good. To close out, what's the most important message you want to share about South Lake Tahoe?
Wow, that's a question. Well, I think the most important thing is that it's a lot of fun. It's one of the most beautiful places on the planet. We have such a diverse number of activities that you can do, from very active to just a relaxed, laid-back kind of feel. We like to say that it's awe and then some.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many other day trips that you can take from here. So you can make this your base and go down into Carson Valley, or go around to North Lake Tahoe, into Reno. We are only about 55 minutes away from the Reno airport, and about 2 hours away from Sacramento. So if you're flying in, you can get here quickly and easily. So I just think it's, and we have nighttime entertainment, we have daytime entertainment. I mean, I think there's something for everyone here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Ted, is there anything you want to sneak in here?
Just to say, I'm going to have to look at booking a trip to go to Lake Tahoe, because it sounded pretty terrific.
Carol, we're waiting for you. I'm heading that way.
Carol, thank you very much for coming on and sharing that, and Robert as well for doing a great job always as co-hosting. But Carol Chaplin, President and CEO of Lake Tahoe Visitors Authority. You can get her information, that I'm sure, from the website as well, if you want to reach out and if you have some questions. But thank you very much for coming on and sharing a little bit about the Lake Tahoe area and all of the exciting things going on. We appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thanks so much. It's love talking about it.
Awesome.
All right.
Carol.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Ran a minute or two over, but we'll take a very fast break, and then I will speak with my featured guest tonight, Ryan Leahey. We'll be right back.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple to follow practice and gain improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm excited to feature tonight's special guest. His name is Ryan Leahey, and he is the sales coordinator for North America at Duca del Cosma, which is a great brand. He's going to tell us a little bit more about that here in just a moment, but let me just tell you just a little bit about Ryan, and then we'll bring him on. Ryan's journey in golf began at the ripe young age of 3. He evolved into a top-ranked amateur and a golf scholarship at Sacred Heart University. As a pro, he honed his skills at elite clubs like the Lost Tree, the Bears Club, and the Piping Rock Club. And from player development to sales, Ryan now combines his golf expertise at Duca del Cosma, and he was recently featured in Golf Magazine. So he's making waves in the industry. So please welcome my very special guest, Ryan Leahey. Ryan, good evening, and welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on tonight.
I appreciate it. My apologies. We ran a couple of minutes late in the last segment, but here we are. So thank you for taking time out of your schedule and joining me this evening on Golf Talk Live.
No, it's fine. I enjoyed hearing about Lake Tahoe. I went to visit that as when I was a kid, and it brought back some nice memories. So I enjoyed it.
Well, in just about a month's time, or just a little less than a month's time, they're going to be having the ACC is going to be played there, the celebrity tournament, and a lot of folks obviously go for that, and they were talking a little bit about that, I think, before you jumped on. So that'll obviously be interesting and a lot of fun, I'm sure. So I want to ask you this first. Oh, I'm sure, yeah. So let me ask you a little bit about you first before we get into Duca del Cosma. Tell us a little bit more about why you got into golf. What was it about golf? Obviously, you started very young and kind of went up through the ranks, and obviously you're a pro. But what was it about golf that appealed to you?
You know, my dad introduced me to the game, and I think what really was appealing to me was that it was something I could do on my own. I could do it, for as long as I wanted to. And it was just fun because it was something that I always had like a natural knack for, and I got really good at it. So I just enjoyed, being outside in the beautiful scenery, practicing. It was just very peaceful. Like when you have a long day at school, just to go and hit balls for an hour, 2 hours. And I was fortunate at the club where I was a member as a child. My family was, I should say. I could golf after dinner. We were 10 minutes from there, and I could go there every night and just practice. So it was just something I really enjoyed. My parents never forced me to do it, but I was fortunate I had a gift from God, and I became pretty good at it and just carried on with it from a young age to I still play to this day.
I think that's the best approach to this game, and you made a very interesting point. Is your parents didn't pressure you to play; they let you sort of find your own journey, and I think that's so important with a lot of the juniors out there today. That it's sometimes well intended, but I think sometimes the parents get a little bit more overzealous than the child does, and I think they live vicariously. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. We won't go down that path. We'll save that for another time when you come on the show.
From the years that I was teaching, I used to see that all the time. A lot of parents, you could tell a kid did not want to be there. And I would ask the kid, I'm like, do you want to be here? He's like, not really. I'm like, okay, we'll make it fun. Like, I wouldn't take it as serious with him as I would with other kids who want to be there. So I totally get it.
Right. Yeah. It's something, golf's a great game, and there's a lot of folks that had gotten out of golf for a little while, and then obviously the pandemic came along, and they've, gotten back in, said, I'm going to give it another try, and it's worked out well. But yeah, you have to, it's meant to be fun. And golf is challenging enough, and without the added pressure and all of that, and yeah, and so you know the drill. I teach as well, and golf, and yeah, I know exactly what it's all about.
Ted, I think the thing for me is I enjoyed the pressure. I enjoyed the pressure at a young age of performing for not only for myself but in front of people. And I can remember at a very young age I'm saying I'm 9 or 10 and I'm hitting balls on the driving range. I say to my dad, I'm like, Dad, bring some of your friends and have them watch me because I'm starting to get good. So even at a young age, I did not mind having people watch me. And even now when I play in tournaments, I'm a little nervous, as everyone is on the first tee. But once you're out there, it's a pressure and a nervousness that I enjoy.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Well said. I think you have to have a little bit of butterflies. Even Tiger used to talk about that. He'd get a little butterfly in his stomach too. And I think if you don't, then there's something wrong. But obviously we're talking a different type of pressure. When you're out there and you're in the thick of things in the hunt, as it were, that kind of pressure can be good. It gives you enough adrenaline to get out there and do what you need to do. But I'm obviously, we were talking about more parental pressure for juniors and that. But so here we are, fast forward now, and you're now part of the Duca del Cosma group. Tell us how that came about. How did you first hear about them? How did you come in contact with them? And how did you get involved into what you're doing now?
Well, I was a club pro for 13 years. And as you know, club pro, a lot of long hours, a lot of time away from the family. And I have 2 young boys and a beautiful wife that I was away from a lot. So, my wife travels for her job as well. So I was never really home. And I was at the point where I was like, I want to make a change. I interviewed for a few pro jobs, did not get across the finish line, and I decided to, instead of kind of just going into a new career away from golf, to still utilize my connections, my skill sets, and I started looking for sales jobs in the golf industry, and I happened to find on LinkedIn, of all places, Duca del Cosma was hiring last year as a sales assistant. So I was like, okay, it's a new company I was not really familiar with in the States, and I read up on it, and I applied and went through some rigorous interviews, and I was very fortunate that they chose me.
It's a great company. Obviously, I saw them down at the PGA show. They've actually been on. I've had others on the program here over the last year or so, and just a great company. I've got a couple of pairs of their shoes, just extremely well made. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. But what was your first impression? Because again, being in the business, we see a lot of stuff. I'm sure you've been to the PGA show over the years. You see a lot of products, a lot of clothing, this, that, and the other. And it's actually overwhelming. There's too much that you see out there. But what was it about the particular products that they were putting together, obviously namely their shoes, that really stood out to you? Obviously it's not just a job for you. You're obviously appreciative of their product. It's incredible quality and so forth. But what stood out about their product that said, hey, I'd like to be a part of that?
What really stood out for me was the quality of the shoe itself. Without mentioning other brands, we're the only company where our shoes are individually handmade. So hearing that stood out to me right away because it shows the attention to detail, the craftsmanship, and, just the process to make a shoe was just fascinating to me. And when you see the finished product, it's almost like it's too nice to wear. You don't want to wear it on the golf course, especially, when it's wet out. You don't want to ruin it because the shoes are just so beautiful. And then the comfort of them is even better.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of factors that go into, it's not like it was, now I'm going to show my age, 30 plus years ago, where you had very limited, things to choose from, and everything was sort of cookie cutter in the golf industry. And now you're seeing companies like Duca del Cosma that are coming out with very high quality footwear, and it's just, you slip a pair on, and it's unlike anything really you've probably ever worn. Talk about, and it's a fashion statement. It's not just, hey, these are golf shoes or these are. It's an actual fashion statement. Their prints and just the color combinations and some of the other things. Maybe you could touch on a little bit about that. I know you're there's a lot there. So, but maybe you could just talk a little bit about that. It's not just a regular, shoe that you see out there in the market, right?
No, and we like to say it's a lifestyle shoe because you can wear it for just more than golf. You can wear it to play in the yard with your kids. You can wear it, going grocery shopping. I mean, I have a pair of shoes that I wear to church every Sunday. Some of them are so casual you can wear them out to dinner. So I think what, I like to say is that we have a style and a color for everyone out there.
Yeah, and again, it's an individual opportunity for somebody to, create their own style, if you will, and there's such a variety. And also, too, though, people want performance. So what's good or even better than some of the other athletic brands? And again, I'm not getting into specifics with, this brand or that brand, but
yeah.
What is it about, how does the performance really stack up with your experience? Because that's important as a golfer and obviously as a golf coach. You want to have good quality. It's not just fit and comfort. That's obviously premium, but you also want them to perform well, right? So how do they perform?
I think one of the first things I noticed when I wore a pair out for my first round in them was you put them on and it feels like they've been broken in. You don't have to do like breaking it in for, like the old classic shoes from like the 90s, 2000s would take a few weeks to break in. You put a pair of Ducas on and it molds right to your feet, which is great. And you're walking, you're not getting any blisters. You have plenty of support, plenty of comfort. And the one thing that really stood out to me was I'm in South Florida. It's hot 11 months out of the year. So your feet are going to sweat.
Yeah.
You're going to perspire out there. When I took my shoes off, my feet were dry and I couldn't believe it. So right there, that is a selling point for me. Like I didn't have any. It was because of the benefit of the Arniflex that we use in our footbeds that we're able to, people who perspire a lot out there are, your feet are going to stay dry.
Yeah, and he's talking about the Arniflex. He's talking about the memory foam insole, which is, it's like walking on a cloud. I can't emphasize it enough. Just how comfortable, the product, the shoes are, from Duca del Cosma. It's just, they're not only very fashion forward, and quality is just, again, that European flair, if you will, but they're extremely comfortable. And again, whether it's, in Florida, whether you're in another area, that's, what people don't realize, and I think maybe you could touch on this a little bit as a professional. I can certainly say it, but I want to give you the opportunity. People don't realize when it comes to performance in golf, your feet are the ground. That's what grounds you for your game. And if your feet are not comfortable and if you're not well grounded, that affects your game. Maybe you could touch a little bit about that and how you found this particular product line really stepped up to help with that.
Yeah, like you said, golfers use ground force, their feet, the lower body for a lot of the power in their golf swing, and you need to have a good pair of shoes that will give you that support, the comfort, the stability, especially if you're on a side hill, uneven lie. You want that shoe to be sturdy, and I found out with Duca, whether it's the Positano, which is the lightweight, or the Pro Spike model of the Orlando or Bernardo, that each shoe gives you what you need along with the comfort. So I think it's, what's nice about the shoes are too is they don't feel heavy even though they're made of 100% leather. I've worn other brands where the shoe is leather and it's very heavy. These are very lightweight, and to me, I know it's going to sound like a sales pitch, but I feel like with some of the styles that I've worn for Duca del Cosma, especially the Positano, I feel like I've gained distance because it's so lightweight on my feet that I'm able to really utilize the ground a lot better than I was with other shoes. Pat, are you still there?
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. I accidentally muted my mic. I'm sorry. Ryan, sorry. What I was going to say or starting to say was just to follow up from what you were talking about. One of the things that really impressed me about how they were made is that the sole of the shoe itself is so well put together and so solid in the sense that many other shoes that you wear are not very well put together. And these are not only comfortable to wear, but the sole really provides a solid base. And that's something that I have not seen in a lot of other products. And I've tried quite a few products on the market, and I have yet to really find anything that matches what Duca is putting out. Do you agree with that as well?
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And I think what's also very unique about our company is that, along with our color scheme, we're very bold and vibrant, which I like, because we're trying to stand out and make a point like, hey, look at our shoe. We are, this is for people to step out the box to wear, like the new Devontae, which is orange, has a nice combination of white, orange, and light blue and a little gray. But that will go with a lot of nice outfits. But just to be a little bit more bold, and we also offer 2 different sets of shoelaces, which is great because, especially for me, Ted, I don't know about you, but I love to color coordinate my shoes to my outfit all the time.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. And I did that actually. I actually wore them when I first got them. I went to Pinehurst, of all places. And, I'll be honest, with today's game, a lot of times you're forced to ride a cart and that. So, of course, Pinehurst, you're walking around. And the first course I went on was number 2. And I thought to myself, you know what, I hope these shoes are good. And I had not worn them at all. And this was the first day that I was at Pinehurst. And I was thinking to myself, my feet are going to be sore when I get, done this 18. Because I hadn't walked in a little bit. And I got to tell you, when I got back, I didn't even know it was just like walking on a cloud. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not just saying that, because you're on the show.
Yeah.
My feet, that was probably the only part that didn't hurt. But that was the only part that didn't hurt. I mean, I think the rest of me, they could come up with a body wrap. I think I'd be excited about that. But yeah, the shoes were just incredibly comfortable, and it made it enjoyable to walk around the golf course again, especially somewhere like Pinehurst.
Nice is, my parents actually just moved from Pinehurst 3 years ago, so I've been there many times. And it's
so
not
you know that.
walk.
No, it's not. So it was nice to have my Ducas there with me. So you mentioned a couple of the lines in that, though, but they've got a very robust men's line. Talk a little bit about that. And also they carry, obviously here in the U.S. as well, a pretty robust women's line. Can you talk a little bit about some of the different styles and some of the differences, and then we'll specifically talk about what's new, what some of their new collections coming out.
Yeah, I mean, our women's, we do so well with our women's, and I think it's because we, aside from the comfort and the design, is the color scheme of our ladies does a great job of complementing all of the current women's, fashion for today. One of our best sellers is the Serena White Navy, and it's a patent leather, shiny, but when you look at it, I've had many women in the showroom, and they're like, I want that shoe. That's the number one shoe they like, the Serena White Navy. It's probably one of our top 2 best sellers, and once we get it in stock, it flies off the shelves.
Wow. And it's really interesting, too, what I noticed about, Duca's line is, in addition to obviously great quality, again, it's very fashion forward. Talk about, especially for the women, I mean, and obviously the men's too, but the women's has an incredible winter golf shoe. I mean, when you look at some of the designs, I mean, women have just got to love this. I mean, you've got all kinds of things. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, it's very, very different from anything I've ever seen in golf.
I mean, the women's golf boot that we offer, we have a lot of different styles, but the one that has done very well is the Lorenza, and we offer in different colors, navy, brown, and black croc. And Ted, believe it or not, we have people in Florida that just order it just to wear it as a lifestyle boot. It's not even right. For golf. They just wear it because they want to be fashionable, and it's super comfortable. You know, we do very well out in the Lake Tahoe area, Northern California, because of the skiing and, you know, the cold winters up there. So people want to have support, especially, you know, and then we do well with it over in Europe and in Canada. But a lot of women do wear the boot just for fashion.
Right, exactly. And Golf Digest, as an example, recognized a lot of the shoes here, best golf shoes for men 2024. There were a lot of different, versions, if you will. And you actually have, you mentioned it as like a boot in the men's as well. And that's very, very different. I mean, I've never seen that in a golf. And again, what's unique about it is not only is it something, and again, obviously this is, for more of your winter golf, and I don't mean out in the snow, but obviously cooler climates and things like that. But again, as do the ladies, this is something that, again, becomes part of your fashion. So it's not just out in the golf course, but hey, if you're, at somewhere that you want to be a little bit more fashion forward, you've got some different options here as well, correct?
Correct. And what I think is nice too is, even in Florida on a cooler winter day, if it's wet out, I'll put on my Bologna's, Duca del Cosma boots just because it's still lightweight. It's going to give me the support I need, the comfort, and it's going to keep my feet dry. If it's really wet out, it's great.
And Duca also has some other products as well. I don't want to skip over those, but they've got some premium Cabretta leather golf clubs that are just for both men and women. Very stylish, very with a European flavor, which is again something much different than what's typically here. Touch on that a little bit. That's obviously, I'm sure, some big sellers as well. Correct?
Yeah. What's nice about our gloves is a lot of our gloves, especially on our ladies' end, the gloves will match some of our collection for the shoes. We have a King Sheeta collection in shoes, and we also have a King Sheeta collection for gloves. So if we're doing a ladies member guest theme that's a safari theme, a lot of ladies will get the glove and the shoes to match. It's a win-win. And then we also have other colors in the ladies' gloves, it's pink and purple, which will do great to match a lot of, like a silver shoe or a white shoe or a navy shoe. And then in the men's, we have a traditional white glove, which is great. And then we have, which is really neat, I've never seen before, is like we have a cognac one where the thumb is tan and the fingers are tan. So it's really neat. It almost looks like an old school driving glove that you would use when you're driving a car, but it's a golf glove. And then we have a nice navy one. And then we have two hybrid ones with synthetic leather, which are red, white, and blue, and then the Italian flag for the heritage of Duca, which is green, red, and white.
Yeah, there's a little something for everybody. What I really like, and it really caught my eye, and I did not know this until tonight. Obviously, I like to, prepare as best I can for my guests that come on. And as I said, I've had other representatives from Duca come on and talk about different things in the past. But one thing I didn't know, and it really caught my eye because this is something years ago, as I mentioned, golf shoes and things like that, 20, 30 years ago, had these. In fact, my father, one of the very first pairs of shoes that he got me, had what's referred to, you're calling it here as a kiltie. Talk about what that is, and that is something that I had not seen in golf for a long time. Explain what it is, what a kiltie is.
My first pair of golf shoes when I was 9 or 10 had kilties on it, and then they went away. And I think, a kiltie, what I was told, Ted, was it's a protector to keep the shoe clean from like dust, sand, and dirt.
Yeah.
So that's what a kiltie is. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's really to protect the laces and obviously to prevent as much, dirt and so forth getting into, into the shoe and obviously, dirtying up the top part. But obviously we'll send them in a little bit to the website so they can see for themselves. But it's something that, again, further adds to the fashion aspect, because you've got a lot of different versions. It's not just one. There's different colors. There's different patterns, that sort of thing available. But it caught my eye because, as you just pointed out, it was something that was very, very popular in earlier days. Obviously, when I was younger as well, much like you, I started very, very young playing this game. And then it kind of went away. It was kind of like, okay, it's not really. And it's nice to see that a company like Duca has brought it back into the fold. And again, I think as more and more of, especially some of the younger generations coming through, are looking for ways to, kind of make their mark or be a little more fashion forward. So this is bringing something sort of old school, if you will, but adding a little bit of a newer flair to it.
Absolutely. I mean, we just, coming up on 4th of July, and we have a Stars and Stripes kiltie available, and that will be a perfect complement to a white shoe, a navy shoe. It's a great patriotic. You can even use it for Labor Day, Memorial Day, which passed. But what's nice about our kilties is that you can put them on any shoe, and they're all interchangeable.
Yeah, and also you've got some very patriotic golf shoes in the line as well, I'm assuming in anticipation of the 4th of July. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so for the men, we have the United, and for the ladies, we have the Unity. And, that was really brought out just for the 4th of July holiday, and it did so well, we made it a permanent addition to our collection. And, one of our, this has happened the other day, and it was a huge compliment, is that, the Olympics are going to be over in Paris coming up next month. One of our customers bought a pair of United for himself and a pair of Unity for his wife, because they're going to go over and watch the Olympics in Paris, and they wanted to have Duca del Cosma shoes over there because they want to have the best comfort and the best support while they're watching the Olympics. So I thought, this is great. I mean, we're going to be over, we're going to have two of our ambassadors for Duca del Cosma, Joost Luiten, and I'm drawing a blank on his partner's name, but they will be there representing the Netherlands in the golf version of the Olympics.
That's fantastic. And obviously, you guys are a proud sponsor of a European Tour event, the KLM Open.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, many, obviously, ambassadors as well. And I was reading somewhere, too, I think you've got Padraig Harrington, I think, is a fan of Duca's shoes as well, correct?
Padraig Harrington, so our chairman, Frank von Wessel, started High Tech, and Padraig Harrington wore High Tech for a little over 20 years, as did Ian Woosman. And I know that when Padraig won PGA, I want to say in 2008, he was wearing High Tech back then.
Yeah, exactly. It's just,
but yeah,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. Finish your thought.
I was going to say, just to touch on the KLM Open, ironically, it is happening this week, and today was the first round. So it's exciting. It's an exciting week for our company, and, we hope to crown another great champion, and hopefully, I was looking at the leaderboard earlier, and Joost is tied for 12th, so he has it for, if he's to have a good finish or win it, it would be even a better week for our company, because it will be, good for the Netherlands as a country. It will be even better for our company as a whole, because he's wearing our shoes the entire week, and he'll be on TV for it. So it's a really good brand awareness.
Oh yeah, fantastic. What do you want, if you were to sort of sum things up, what do you want people most to know about Duca del Cosma? What is it, if you were sort of to, be in front of a group of people and they were saying, I'm not familiar with the company, I'm not familiar with the brand, what would you say to them if you wanted to give them just a little bit of an insight to not only the company but also to what you offer?
The first thing I tell them is that we're the only golf company on the market where every shoe is individually handmade. That's number one. And number two, I think the one thing that separates our company from other companies is on each shoe box that you receive, on the inside of the box is a personalized message from our owner, Frank Von Wessel, saying, please write to me. And he provides his email address. Any questions, comments, or feedback, whether it's good or bad, he responds within 48 hours. And another company, you're not going to get that from, which I think is incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's one of these things that, as I said, when I was down at the PGA show this last January, and obviously you see a lot of things there, and there was a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement at the booth, just a lot of, I'm an observer, so I like to kind of stand back and take it all in, and I was really, you could see not only the people working the booth, but the people coming in were very excited about what you guys are doing and what you're offering, because, again, I think you're seeing a change in golf, and it has been coming for some time now, where it's not just there's the traditional golfers, that's fine, but you're seeing a different group of individuals that are being gravitated to the game. And I saw a lot of people that were there this year at the show, and particularly around your booth, that were really excited about the products that you guys have, because it's, again, very fashion forward. It's something that can be used not only on the golf course, but also can be used off of the golf course to, spruce up your style and make a statement in some cases. So I think it's something that, they have obviously put a lot of thought into branding themselves that way.
No, I agree. And like I said, that's why we like to call it not just a golf shoe, but a lifestyle shoe. And right. I had a former member of mine from the Law Street Club, just down the road from our office in North Palm Beach, come into the showroom. She has worn our shoes for a couple of years now, and our new shoe, the Oliveira, which features the A15 outsole, which is our newest outsole this year. She got 3 pairs and wears them for everything: golf, going to the gym, going grocery shopping. She loves it. That's her traditional sneaker / golf shoe. And I think what's really great about our shoes also is on the men's side, Ted, as a golf pro, you're on your feet a lot. You could have a lot of 10 to 13 long days, right? We have a shoe that you can use for, you can wear for playing, for teaching, for merchandising, for scoring in events. You don't need to go to your desk and change into a pair of, white saddle shoes with spikes. You can keep ours on, and it'll give you the benefit that you need: the comfort for scoring an event, the stability, and the stability for playing on the golf course. I mean, it's a no-brainer with our shoes. It does everything in one.
Yeah, there's just, there's a lot of things, and I think for people, once they see the shoe and the different options, and once they, as I say, visit, your showroom and try them on for themselves, I think they'll be sold right away. So let's give them the website. Here, I know in the United States, it's ducadelcosma.us, I believe is the website that they can get here in the United States. It'll take them to, right? Yeah. And on there, again, it's got everything from what new collections are out. It's got, a very robust men and women's collection. And then there's a number of different accessories that are available. You've got gloves, golf caps. We can talk about that. But other golf accessories, and, of course, the kilties. I'm going to have to check those out afterwards. But and I might have to order some and add them in.
Our website is very user-friendly. I mean, it's super easy to find what you're looking for. I mean, it's even broken down to, different types of shoes, spikeless, spiked, and it'll show you which collection is new. It'll say new right on it, and we even have a 20th anniversary shoe.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And also, too, you've got a great section here. You've got some sales and clearance. So as more styles and more come in to the new lines, some others that, maybe are being sort of purged out a little bit or, not as new. This is a great opportunity, and you've got a number of them. Some of them are final sales, so you got to act on it, and hopefully they'll have your size in there for the listeners out there. But they've got some great merch here on their website that you can go and order now and really and enjoy some good savings there. So, Ryan, anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners?
The only thing I would say is, if you're not familiar with our brand, become familiar with it. We're going to be making, we're making big waves this year. I've seen the collection for 2025, and that is really going to, take the market by storm. I think, within a few years, we're going to be one of the top 3 shoe companies for overall for men and women. Just don't be afraid. Our shoes are bold, but don't be afraid to add some flair into your wardrobe is what I like to say.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, there's so many great features in the shoes themselves. The designs, as you said, they're handmade. It's not, in a big factory line. So everything's, done with a lot of care, and they're extremely well made. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. I was at Pinehurst for a few days. I had the 2 pairs, and I had actually brought a 3rd pair of different brand, and they ended up staying in the shoe bag because I was so happy with the Duca pairs that I brought along that I just rotated them out for a few days, and they're still like brand new, it's just amazing how well they held up and just how great they look. And I didn't just wear them on the golf course, but I was able to, even out at night going out for a bite to eat, I wore them out there because they were, again, fashionable so that you could, wear them with just about anything and still look very stylish. And it's just amazing.
I was out to lunch the other day, and the store manager stopped me. He goes, "Hey, I've never seen those shoes before. They look really comfortable. Like, what kind of sneakers are they?" And I'm like, "Well, they're actually golf shoes, but, it's more of a lifestyle shoe." He's like, "Well, do you have a card?" So I gave him my card, and he went online, and he sent me a nice email. And he's like, "I really like the shoes. I'm going to place an order." I mean, it was just very, it's how so many people, like, when they see our shoes, the design, the look, it catches their eye. It's not just like a normal Skechers or a normal, Nike shoe. It's Duca del Cosma. We go above and beyond.
Yeah, and that's so important because again, even though it's growing and becoming bigger, they still sort of go back to that old world craftsmanship, which is very rarely seen these days. Everything's on the assembly line, and I understand the reasons why, but sometimes you want something that kind of has that extra special care, and it makes it worth it. And, these shoes are obviously, your core demographic is golfers, of course. Typically has been a more affluent, but I think that'll change as more and more people get familiar. I mean, I had a number of people when I was both on the golf course in Pinehurst, the first time I wore them, and then out, after for the evening, come up to me and we'd be talking, and they'd say, "Wow, where'd you get those shoes?" And I really liked them. So again, they're definitely something that will catch people's eyes, and they're extremely well made. I mean, I've worn a lot of shoes, and I'm Italian made and whatnot that were extremely expensive, and we're not as well made as Duca del Cosma shoes are made. And again, like you said, it's not really a golf shoe; it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you could wear it for golf, dinner, grocery shopping. I mean, I even wear the Churchills to church, and I get compliments on the shoes all the time. They're like, "Oh, what a nice dress shoe." And I was like, "Yeah," but it's that's what's great about our company is that we're innovative. I've even seen designs from other companies where they've kind of taken our new Devontae, they've taken like the sole of the Devontae and kind of made theirs kind of look like that. So, copying is very flattering for us.
Yeah, that's the there's that expression I'm trying to escape you right now, but I guess copying is the highest form of flattery. Yeah.
That's it.
What
it escaped me? Thank you.
Yeah, that comes with that's called old age. You get forgetful as you get older. But
yeah.
So Ryan, tell me what do you enjoy most about? Obviously, you enjoy the product very much. It's very evident. But what do you really enjoy? What do you love doing? In this new job, at Duca del Cosma, what is it that you enjoy doing most about your job?
Well, Ted, it's what's really nice is I'm still able to use my connections, in the golf business. Like I've been around golf my whole life. I know golf pros all over the United States. So when I left the business, a lot of people are like very surprised. And when I resurfaced on the other side of the business, I've introduced a lot of my friends who are golf pros to this shoe, and they're like, wow, this shoe's great. I've never heard of it before. So to me, it's enjoyable because I'm with a great company. We have a great product, and I can stand behind it and be like, guys, tell my friends, like, we got to get this in your shop. You got to get a pair for yourself. You're missing out on the hot new best shoe for this year.
So having said that, for the consumers out there, give us the website again. And then for those that maybe are in the golf business, like some of the pro shops or other facilities that maybe are interested in carrying them in-house, how can they get in touch? What's the best way they can maybe get in touch with you to pursue or certainly investigate that? So let's give them the website again. And then if they want to get in touch with you, if somebody's interested in maybe carrying this line in their pro shop as an example, what's the best way to go about doing that for the listeners?
Yeah, so our website is ducadelcosma.us, and if you sign up for our newsletter, you automatically get 10% off your first purchase. And if people who are listening that want to bring it into their shops, we even have people carry it in some of their boutique shops. The best way to do that is to email me at usa@ducadelcosma.com, or you can call me direct at the office at 561-904-6010.
Perfect. Well, Ryan, I'm gonna have to have you come back. We'll talk a little more golf next time. Obviously, you were here for a different purpose tonight, but and I appreciate that very much. And as I'm sure your companions at Duca del Cosma, but you'll have to come back on and we'll talk a little bit more golf and get a little bit more into your backstory and talk about some of your experiences coming up through the ranks. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing some time. And again, for the listeners, if you're interested in seeing some of the products and making a purchase, you can go to ducadelcosma.us is the website. And if you're interested, if you're running a pro shop or a specialty shop and you're interested in maybe learning more about how you can carry this in, it's what's the email again, Ryan?
It's going to be usa@ducadelcosma.com.
Perfect. Well, Ryan, again, thank you very much for being my featured guest tonight on Golf Talk Live. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed talking with you and having you share a lot about Duca del Cosma's line products. And again, now it's time for them to go and check it out and look at maybe ordering a pair or more. I have no doubt. I'm enjoying mine, and I may have to upgrade. I'm going to get some Kilties and maybe add some Kilties to the collection. But I appreciate you coming on tonight, and much continued success at your venture. And I'll reach out and have you back on again in a future show.
I'd love that. Thanks again for this opportunity. It was great talking to you. And shoot me an email if you need another pair of shoes for yourself.
I appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Ryan. All right. That was Ryan Leahey, sales coordinator for North America at Duca del Cosma. Again, if you go to ducadelcosma.us is their website. All of the information there. You can sign up for their newsletter, and you can get 10% off and has free shipping on orders over $150 and a lot of great accessories as well. And for those patriots out there, they've got a great red, white, and blue collection. Very exclusive and very stylish. So just in time for the 4th of July, so you better hurry. So go to ducadelcosma.us as their website. All right, I want to thank everybody again for joining me tonight on Golf Talk Live. God bless everybody, and have a great week. I'll see you next week right here on Golf Talk Live.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.